Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After the news you need to know about, we run you through the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. First news story comes from Pro Football Rumors. The Miami Dolphins have been clearing a ton of cap space with restructures. Starting with Bradley Chubb, the Dolphins were able to agree to a restructured deal with star pass rusher Bradley Chubb. The team converted $13.5 million of Chubb's 2024 base salary into a signing bonus. The move frees up $11 million of cap space. They were not done. They did a ton of restructures. The two other major ones, the three major ones, one of them was Bradley Chubb that we just talked about. The other one was Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey, according to Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, agrees to a restructure. The team converted $13 million of Ramsey's 2024 base salary into a signing bonus, which is a clear cap clearance of $19 million. The other bigger one was Teron Armstead, who finally we got his numbers on his pay cut. Same thing, converted it into a signing bonus. The adjustment cleared about $10 million. So, just to recap, because it is a lot. The Jalen Ramsey restructure cleared $19 million. The Teron Armstead cleared $10 million. And the Bradley Chubb, to get the exact number, cleared $11 million of cap space. Now, you would think those are really big numbers, but the Dolphins were really, really far over the cap. They still only have $6 million after all of those moves in cap space left over. So that's, it's still not a lot. And now I know that everybody's, I think me and Ed, this next news story, which is relevant to this. And hopefully this cap, they had to do this anyway, especially with the draft coming up. But hopefully they can get a deal done, which brings us to our next news story. The Dolphins are interested in adding a third wide receiver. And again, this comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins submit offer to Odell Beckham Jr. Mike McDaniel, who was at I don't even know what you call it. The entire league gets together at the breakfast conference to talk. And then obviously they do, all the coaches and GMs do media there. This is what Mike McDaniel had to say about Odell Beckham in the meeting that they had with him. Mike McDaniel said, quote, "Things went great with him. We did make him an offer, and business takes time, especially with players such as Odell, who's had a phenomenal career, still has really good football in front of him, and he has options. So I think those conversations will be ongoing. We'll see where things go." So everything that we've heard from beat writers to obviously Mike himself saying this, it seems that both sides are interested in making a deal. Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald has reported multiple times in tweets that the Dolphins don't want to overspend on a third wide receiver, which brings us to the fact that the Dolphins were at the Texas Pro Day, and one of my favorite players in the draft, Xavier Worthy, is obviously there, and there's obviously other prospects the Dolphins would be interested in that are there. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but the fact that it has been reported by the beat writers, which usually they're right about things like this, the Dolphins are obviously not satisfied with their third receiver. And I've talked about it many times on this show that it's pretty awful, the drop-off when Hill or Waddle were hurt. And even when they were in the game or we had to sub them out, it was such a pitfall of a drop-off from the next guy up. And we never had a third option the last 2 years in this offense. Since Mike McDaniel got here, we haven't had a clear third option in the passing game. And that's a huge problem. And we're talking about like Durham Smythe and was really the most consistent one. Even when you look at the stats, I think he was our third leading receiver. And Braxton Berrios was just disappointing. And Cedric Wilson never, ever lived up to any expectations we had for him. So it's a huge issue that needs to be. It's actually, in my opinion, and I know some people have reported that, it's more of a luxury. It's not. It's an actual hole in the offense. Now, granted, before I continue to keep ranting about this, because I've been ranting about it for 2 years, Jonnu Smith is a huge addition. So he's going to help out a lot, and which is big. So if the Dolphins are able, which I really hope they can, going back to Odell, I hope they can make a deal with Odell, because I think he's still, if he's a third option on a team, excuse me, and this is probably the best offensive coordinator he's ever played for, an offensive mind he's ever played for, that's a massive upgrade in this offense. We've never had a third receiver or receiving threat since Mike got here, like Odell, and haven't had one on a Dolphins team in a very long time. To go that lineup is way better than anything that Mike has ever had, with Jonnu Smith and Odell being additions to the team. That's a much better lineup than the last 2 years. So that, for that fact alone, I hope they can get a deal done. Now, is Odell still the same player? No. He's not the Odell that everybody fell in love with in 2013, 2014. When he made the ridiculous... I mean, he's unfortunately had a terrible injury history. But he's still a really good player. If you guys... I encourage everybody to go back and watch some of the Baltimore stuff. He was put on a pitch count in Baltimore as well. They rarely ever played him outside of third down, and reportedly that's one of the reasons he's looking for a new team to play for, is he wants more playing time. And there's so many things that the Dolphins could do with a player like that, especially since so much weight has been put on Waddle and Hill, especially Tyreek. I mean, the man has, he looks like he's gonna, at the end of games, especially towards the end of the year, he looks like he's going to pass out. He carries a heavy load in the passing game. And in addition, Odell would really help out with that. And it makes Tua better too. Tua is a pocket passer. It's the thing that he does best. And he needs people to get open and to be reliable. And when I say that, I mean, literally, you want to talk about, and this is but it's just the truth. I mean, we're talking about bottom of the barrel third options. We're not talking about, this guy's a little bit of below that. No, we're talking about as bad as it possibly can get. Think about it. Your third best option as a receiving threat is Durham Smythe. That's the most consistent guy. Braxton Berrios, Cedric Wilson, those guys disappear. So it's a huge problem, and, this would fix that, and this lineup would be the best lineup from a skill position standpoint. It's not even close than the last 2 seasons. I mean, that is a very good lineup with A-Chain, Mostert, Smith, Jonnu Smith, Odell Beckham, Waddle, and Hill. That's a very, very good lineup. So I'm really hoping this happens. It would be a really good move for the team. To put in perspective, if you look at Odell's production, his first healthy year since, I don't really remember. I guess the Rams, technically. He had over 500 yards receiving. But again, he was put on a pitch count. He can still go deep. And moving him into the slot and having all 3 of those players on the field at the same time is really good. And the thing that 2 things Odell brings to the team. Phenomenal route runner. 3 things, actually. Phenomenal route runner. Great hands. Which, because he's got great hands, he'd be a really, really nice red zone target. And he's always been really good after the catch, and he still has that ability. So that's literally what you need in a slot receiver. He has all 3 of those attributes, and I think he could have a really nice season in Miami. And I think he's still got one more really good year left in him at least, especially if he stays healthy. I think he could still make a Pro Bowl. And so all of those things are reasons why the Dolphins should get Odell back, and I hope, and then, the reports that they don't want to overspend, which is interesting, which brings me to my other take on this third option issue. the Dolphins have been sniffing around Xavier Worthy. Obviously, everybody's heard the name now because of the combine performance, but I still think he's one of the best receivers in the draft, one of the best deep threats that has come out of college in a long time. His last year at Texas, he had over 1,000 receiving yards, and if you actually watch him play, he's another thing before I go any further is he's also 6'1". He's not a smaller receiver. But the thing that impresses me most about him is his deep threat ability and his ability to track the ball down on deep passes. He really is just a really good receiver. He's not just like a Ted Ginn Jr. where he's more of a gadget guy. He's actually a good receiver. So there's many different options the Dolphins could explore with this. So that's probably why they're like, we don't have to overextend with Odell Beckham. There's a lot of really good receivers in this draft that they could get even in we're talking about the third round, second round, there's a lot of talented guys. So it's not the end of the world if they don't get a deal done with him. There's still other options out there. And it doesn't have to be in the first round. So I'm not going to be too upset if they don't get a deal done, but I do still think it would be a huge missed opportunity if they weren't able to get a deal done with Odell. So moving on from that, there's a couple other things I wanted to bring up that were said at the breakfast. One thing we'll talk about that at the end. But this is an interesting one. This is what Mike McDaniel had to say about the losses of Christian Wilkins and Robert Hunt. He said, quote, "It all comes back to the fact that there's a finite salary cap, and sometimes we can't be the kids spending the money. We have to be the parents who need to make sure we can pay the water bill." Now, this is not the response I expected from him. I feel like, in a way, he's admitting, maybe we made some mistakes with the salary cap, and honestly, some of those mistakes weren't his fault. Some of the dead cap money, at least some of the bigger ones, is from Byron Jones, and he had nothing to do with that. So it's not like it's Mike's fault, but I think it's nice to hear that, especially from past regimes. And I bring this up all the time, but what Mike Tannenbaum said about, it's like they graduated from. It's like, this isn't college, you moron. I'll never forget when I think it was when Lamar Miller and Olivier Vernon left. He's like, it's like we developed them and now they graduated to a better franchise. What the heck is that supposed to mean? So I liked Mike McDaniel's response in this. Just another reason to really like him as our head coach. I thought it was how you should respond to losing two really good players. It's like, we didn't want to lose them, and we could have managed the cap better. And I liked that response a lot. So I just wanted to bring that up. Very different from, looking at that quote, and then you look at something like a Mike Tannenbaum quote. It's like, back in the day, we were dealing with people that can't even admit their own mistakes. So it's nice to hear that from our head coach. And we already went over what he had to say about Odell. Seems still pretty optimistic about the team. Unlike other people, and we do this every single season, I love the foundation that we've built in Miami. From Mike McDaniel to Tua to Waddle and Hill to the defensive pass rushing tandem that we have. We still have some really nice pieces in the secondary. And we added to that. We got veteran. I thought we got better at safety with the addition of Jordan Poyer, Kendall Fuller, who I really love as a player, and Cam Smith, who I still think is a really nice prospect. Excuse me. So, the foundation is still there. Did we lose good players? Yeah, we lost Christian, which was the biggest hit, and Van Ginkel. I think those are probably the two biggest hits. We brought back Isaiah Wynn, and it was a huge W that Austin Jackson finally developed into something. So the foundation is still there, and it's, we're going on year 3 of Mike McDaniel, and all he's done has gotten better. And really reviewing the Tua situation, which is, I guess, we'll leave off on this. He led the league in passing. If you look at the statistics, he's gotten better every year with Mike McDaniel. And there were real issues on the offensive side of the football last year. Not to give the man excuses, because we've talked about it multiple times on it. Like, he has faults of his own. He's not fully clear of this. But there are things that need to be better on offense. And that is definitely one of them. So if we can, now again, we don't have the full view of the offseason yet, but I still like where the team is. I think it's still a really good football team, and it did get better in areas, which is good. And especially if we get Odell, I think this offense actually got better. The addition of Hunt hurts, but if the Dolphins can get Odell, then they could easily fix that in the draft. With their first overall pick, they could easily add an interior offensive lineman. They got a really good spot or a good pick for that to get a premium player at that position. So it's not there's things, again, we don't have the full view yet, but there's still not more than a chance that the Dolphins are actually a better football team after this offseason, despite what other people say. And if they can pull that off, they went about it in a very smart way. And so far, I actually like the direction. I mean, and I forgot to mention, we added Brewer from Tennessee, who I really like. So there is a chance that this team actually, at the end of the day, I think it got better, especially on offense. And definitely got better in the secondary. And they still have two really good pass rushers. So, again, not the full... and I want to make this clear as I stutter. The defensive line got worse. That's an objective truth. But that doesn't mean that the team is going to be any worse for it. There's definitely areas, like I said, that they could improve from last year, and I think they have in some of those areas. So I actually like the team as it is right now, and I like the prospect of they really got a lot of ways that they can go and to making the team better. So I like the direction we're heading in. I still love the foundation. And, despite what other people think, like the whole idea to get rid of Tua for one of these draft picks is kind of crazy when you think about it. It would be a huge gamble and would take assets from the team. So I don't agree with it, especially after thinking about it for a long time and getting off the end of the year, which was bad for a lot of reasons, and it wasn't good. Tua did not play good at the last few games of the season. So, and for a variety of, the entire team didn't. But I don't think that's really going to help the team out at all, really. You're taking a huge gamble there. But again, if we can get the deal done with Odell, I like where we stand. There's a lot of different directions we can go in. And I like what we've done so far. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys enjoyed. Brooke, I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm missing. No, I don't think so. So, yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next one.